While Skynet may have failed in their initial attempts at killing Sarah Connor and her son John, the war for the future continues to rage on. Will Judgment Day be averted? Or will the time-traveling Terminators be able to turn the tide of battle by eliminating new targets? Well, let's hop into the pages of Terminator issue number 1, a brand new series from Dynamite and DECLAN SHALVEY to find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, before we begin in the effort of transparency, big thank you to Dynamite for giving me a free press copy of this comic to cover. Most of the comic companies don't do that. I guess I'm something of a wild card. So then, as we join the book, we're introduced to a kindly elderly couple by the name of Penny and Harper. They are currently living in Alaska in the year 2018. As Harper explains, because they're so secluded, they were actually able to miss out on the very worst of the machine uprising. Though the effects of the war can still very much be felt in the surrounding area. For one, when Harper goes fishing, he doesn't actually catch many fish. Instead, he mostly just pulls up a lot of metal junk. Today ends up being a very fateful day for the couple, as today they end up coming under attack by a Terminator. Though as we the reader quickly see, this isn't a surprise for either Harper or Penny. In fact, they have actively been waiting for this day, planning and getting ready for such an eventuality. Harper quickly arms himself with a shotgun to try and give Penny enough time to not escape, but to actually burn a box, one whose content will actually remain a mystery until the end of this story. But why are this couple so important? Why do they have a Terminator chasing after them? Especially one that the couple seem to recognize, and one that is already sporting some battle damage. Well, for that we end up flashing way back to the year 1979. It would seem that Penny and her family were something of off-the-grid survivalists. She was never actually in any system anywhere in the world, that is of course until she eventually fell in love with Harper. As soon as her name got entered on a wedding registry, both her and her husband ended up getting stalked by a Terminator. And it's basically all they've been able to do to try and stay one step ahead of this killing machine, jumping from town to town, dingy motel to dingy motel. Still though, despite the fear of impending doom, the two's love not only managed to survive, but thrive as well under the circumstances. Their big plan is to try and escape the city centers and go to live in the wilderness, where they hope the Terminator can't chase after them. And hey, let's talk about the Terminator in this issue, shall we? It's a pretty standard model, though I appreciate the fact that this guy looks like an extra from a Steven Seagal movie, right down to the oh-so-classic era-accurate haircut. Penny and Harper end up catching a small prop plane out of Seattle. Unfortunately, the Terminator is already on the tarmac waiting for them. They run him down and think that it's hopefully the end of their troubles. It's only too late till they realize that the guy who's been chasing after them this whole time isn't some sort of stalker or strange government agent. He's actually a killing machine from the far future. Running him down didn't manage to stop him, but dropping him out of the plane from a high altitude did seem to manage to keep him down, for a while at least. Though with their plane damaged, Penny and Harper had no choice but to lay it down and basically start a brand new life wherever they ended up landing. Which is exactly what they ended up doing, and they did pretty well with themselves until right now. In fact, in their internal monologues, they talk about how they really have no regrets. Theirs was a life well lived. They made the most of the time they had. And even though they end up meeting violent ends at the hands of this Terminator, their own personal futures are secured. We catch a small glimpse of the box that Penny burned up and realize that it's actually filled with heirlooms, including pictures of what looks to be a son, no doubt the Terminator's actual real target this whole time. And now, hopefully, thanks to his parents with no evidence to go on, this mystery son should hopefully be safe from the wrath of this Terminator as the main story comes to a close. Now, it's after that we get treated to a brief but very enjoyable little backup story courtesy of none other than Sal Crivelli. That name should sound familiar to you because he's the man behind Comic Pop. And yes, also one of my dearest friends, frequent collaborators, and podcast co-hosts. I actually went back and forth with myself a lot about how I was going to cover this story. Should I make a big joke about it? Say that it's the greatest breakthrough in literature ever, or say that it's stinky poo garbage, knowing full well that the audience out there knows that we're friends. But I ran both those ideas past the man himself, and he said, nah, Joel, just review it normally like you would, please and thank you, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Now, if the first Declan Shalvey story was a throwback to the more horror thriller aspects of Terminator 1, then this backup story definitely has its creative DNA in Terminator 2. In a refreshing change of pace, this story doesn't actually take place in America, as we see a Terminator teleport from the future somewhere in the Middle Eastern desert. Though he's clearly not alone, as we see an older, more weather-beaten Terminator, a hand poke its way out from under the sand. It would seem that one of these Terminators has come to kill a friendly local doctor, while the other, more beaten Terminator is actually here to try and protect him. But why? Who is this guy? Why is he so important to the war in the future that they were willing to actually send back another Terminator to try and protect him? I don't know, but you bet I'll be interested enough to pick up the next issue to see where this one goes. And so that was Terminator issue number 1, everybody, and I gotta say, pretty damn solid. I know I don't cover enough non-DC, non-Marvel, non-superhero stuff on the channel, so it's always nice when something like this comes around and rewards me for leaving my comfort zone. I dig that this is a fully self-contained story, harkening back to an earlier time in the Terminator franchise's history, when they were just as much scary as they were cool. It's also thankfully a very easy book to pick up and enjoy too. It doesn't matter how deep you are into Terminator lore, you're gonna be able to enjoy this one. I like what Luke Sparrow does with the art here. We get some very colorful, very warm stuff going on in the 2018 story that reminded me a lot of On Golden Pond, if you've ever seen that movie. And the flashback to the 70s ends up doing the complete opposite thing with a lot of cold blue tones. Overall, I think I feel comfortable giving this one a very positive 8 out of 10, and if the rest of the series can keep up this level of quality, I think we'll be in for something really special. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.